I don't know.
I think
So
at
this
some
will be
point
fun
in
for
there,
you
we
to pick out
probably
where you started this.
there somewhere. I might just start with him saying I'm a peaker. Just leave it at that.
Then
No context.
yeah, exactly.
You never get the context either.
Oh, that's good.
So hello everybody.
Aloha!
That's right. Back from Hawaii.
Yep.
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
I don't know how to say that.
So before
It was
we
so
get
great.
into to our main topic, why don't you tell us about Hawaii?
It's amazing. I visited 2 separate islands, Oahu and Maui. Golfed a ton.
Like Moana.
Is that? I haven't seen Moana, so I can't
Oh.
really. I know it's.
It doesn't name islands.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I like it. I also have
It's
a
better than
4-year-old
Frozen,
that
but that's
watches
easy.
it.
Like that's not
Can
hard.
we just
to
say
do.
Frozen's overrated?
Yes.
But honestly, so is Moana.
Okay.
No.
Well, I still have my favorites, you know. But like the first couple days we were on Oahu, literally it was raining the entire time.
It was like flood warning too.
Yeah,
right?
we got flood warnings, and yeah, it was actually kind of fun because, you know, being from New Mexico, we don't get a lot of rain here. But when we do, we get it for about 10, 15 minutes tops,
Then,
and then moves on to the next one. This one was like intermittent for 20 minutes at a time all day. All day, from like morning till night. But it was really cool. So it was cool to see all that rain in one day, and then sunshine after, and
That's dope.
slowly getting adjusted to the weather back here because it was like 80s all the time.
Probably freezing now.
Yeah, I'm super cold now. But we can't talk because the East Coast is getting bombarded with
about
like
it.
bomb cyclones.
Bomb
It's like-
cyclone.
How crazy is that?
That it's like below zero everywhere, bro.
Yeah, I saw like a map of
Except for here.
Minnesota and it was
Yeah.
like -20, -20,
Well,
30.
see, I like to think that
teens,
it-
like it was,
if you're, I'm just gonna say this as a blanket statement. If your state/city gets into the negatives, maybe that's God's way of saying don't live here,
yeah, true.
It's just I don't know if I could do
or
that.
at least have a winter home that you can go to.
Well, yeah, no joke. Like one that's south of the equator, probably, or Hawaii. No,
Or Hawaii,
awesome
yeah.
experience. Glad to be back. Hawaii is the reason why I didn't do my 2 cents. I was gonna talk about like Christmas movies because I'd actually filmed a really short one, but I didn't like it. It was like 2 minutes. I was like, I'm just Christmas with the Cranks this year because I am going, but I'm not gonna celebrate Christmas. So I was definitely gonna mention that one. And Die Hard is another Christmas movie. Gremlins, Elf, you know, all the classics. Jingle All the Way. But
They're all really good.
next topic, because I didn't do that. But I'm back, and we're all together. And RJ,
2 weeks past Christmas
yeah, I know,
at this point,
I
so
know. But I would like it to make it a goal, a New Year's resolution, if you will, that I will do better at making my 2 cents this year. I will be
he's done
putting in-
one and
I will-
he's forgotten multiple times.
And the
we've
one I
asked.
did, I didn't even do right. So, frame wise, but no, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to doing that too. But yeah, it's good to be back with you, gentlemen. I saw that you guys are making an effort to bring Pokemon Go back.
No, it's already happened. It's back. I've gotten, let's see, if we count RJ, I got 1, 2, 3. I've gotten 4 people back into it.
Wow, you're
So
like a virus.
Got me
I
back
am
into it. Did Brandon ever stop, or did
Brandon stopped because no one was doing it.
so you got him back, and then you got his girlfriend
And
to
his girlfriend.
start?
Yeah, start, and then another dude that I work with. So
Wow.
yeah.
All right. Well, lead the revolution. The next
And then
topic, revolution.
I
Bringing
attempted
Pokemon Go
to
back.
download Pokemon Go on my fiance's phone last night,
Ooh.
but in the
I
middle
don't
of
imagine that
downloading,
went well.
in the middle of downloading, she walked into the room, so I hit pause and just threw the phone.
Oh, you should have just tossed the phone and let it keep going. Let her ask about it later.
I
Yeah.
panicked because we're watching.
You're
a
like,
movie.
oh.
So it was like after the movie, she like picks up her phone. She's like, "Were you trying to download Pokemon Go?" I was like, "No."
Wow, caught red-handed either way.
Yeah. And she's like, "What were you thinking?" I was like, "Well, I figured if you had it on your phone, you could
We
just
could play
come-
together.
Yeah,
Like,
we
you
could play
bond
together.
Dude, we'll get Chloe.
We could put it on.
involved.
Yeah, we could give it to Chloe. She could walk around.
Oh,
with
dude,
it.
she would have so much fun with that.
Well, Beth
Put it on.
yeah.
Strap it to Lulu, and when she runs around, you open
Get-
eggs.
Dude,
Oh my gosh,
that's
hilarious.
genius. I'm doing that tonight.
Oh man. Next topic.
But enough
We've
of-
gone
yeah,
too
enough
far.
about-
We've gone too far with this.
Because today is the football one.
Our football edition.
We're in
So,
the
fantasy
playoffs have
season
begun
is- yes,
for the
a game is going on
actual
for the actual NFL.
NFL.
And they've just concluded for the season-long fantasy as
Yes.
of last week. And
Yes.
I would like to say that the three of us were in the top 3 of our league that we did together.
We were.
But Dylan, where were you?
Dylan might as well have not shown up to
Dude.
our finals. Granted, I had let's just break this down. I won.
RJ
By
killed everybody.
100 points.
And you faced us both in the playoffs and beat us both. So
Yeah.
power to you.
There was only one other person who broke 200 points, and I think it was Beth in that
Unbelievable.
second round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I had 285, and he had 185 against me.
Well, and I will say, so like I
Let's hear
lost.
the excuse. Let's hear the
I
excuse.
lost Antonio Brown.
I
which
didn't
sucked.
have Todd Gurley my second week.
Just like, but you already had a 50-point lead.
That is true. Todd Gurley did score
So-
50 points.
no,
the
the
first
50
week.
points. So then
Yes, but I had another league where I lost Antonio Brown, and unfortunately I got eliminated that week because of it.
Yeah.
But then I outscored everybody else just by substituting people, so that's not a good
True.
excuse.
Do
Continue.
you have a
No.
weak bench, sir? Like,
actually, you know what I did
make
do
up
is
for you didn't have Juju, you know,
did not have
as a
Juju.
backup to Antonio Brown.
He had
that would have been the
Juju.
route to go.
he had him already. So what happened?
And I
was-
didn't even play him.
He's like, I'm just gonna stash.
I
him.
could have had an
Eliminate
extra
everybody
20
else.
points from what I had
Yeah.
over him.
So and one of the things too
Wait,
is
20 points
Yeah.
additionally if you
Well,
subbed somebody
'cause
out?
Juju
so
got
you would have
30
300.
Juju got 36 points, and the
gosh.
guy I had in instead of him in the flex only got me 14.
okay, hearing
This is
that.
a PPR ESPN
Yeah,
fantasy.
hearing that,
just for
how do you
reference.
beat that anyway? Like, even if I would have put in my best players, I still would have.
No.
But what happened was losing Brown hurt, and then I picked up Keenum and Garoppolo because I had Dalton and Mariota.
General management probably hurt.
Yeah, that's a lot. So I put Keenum.
Wait,
in
I have learned from playing in 3 different leagues with him that he is very much a home run picker.
Oh,
So he
for
will go
sure.
for he'll get those guys that sometimes they really pay off. But I
But he
would
reaches a
argue
little,
that
right?
maybe sometimes a little bit under or more than half the time
Yeah.
they don't pay
I'll
off.
have you know, this is the exact same way he plays Madden. It's so infuriating, but it's also why I beat him every time this year.
So far.
We have to discuss after we're done with our season long, the current playoffs and kind of like who you were bandwagoning with.
Yeah,
Because you and I deferred on that, but I want the record to show
Well,
where we stand. But anyway,
So
for your
yeah, so
lineup,
my
as the
lineup,
champion,
it worked out really well because I had, despite 3 mediocre weeks at the end, Russell Wilson still ended as the number 1 fantasy
Unbelievable.
quarterback, and I
Yeah.
had him. Todd Gurley, the number 12 overall pick, is when I got him. So
Second round.
he was my second pick.
second round.
Which I will point out, if you go back into the podcast, I wanted Gurley, and you picked him, so I picked
It
up.
doesn't matter.
I know,
who
no.
you wanted.
I'm just saying,
I got him.
I wanted him, so and you got him the pick before me, which that could have been the difference in our final.
Because on my first round was Julio, and he very much underperformed this year.
He had a lot of.
I will never pick him first round again. That's 2 years in a row where he's done all right, but definitely not
He's
worth
good,
first
but
round.
he hasn't had a lot of touchdowns compared to other years.
No.
He was on the negative side of variance for touchdowns this year. It was like touchdown regression, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else I had that I had Keenan Allen, who ended up at number 3 wide
he was
receiver.
he was a stud.
Because the receivers were even with being hurt, I don't think anyone passed Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, then Keenan
Hopkins is so unbelievable because
Dude,
that
Allen.
guy
With a third string terrible quarterback.
I know
he still
any
did that.
quarterback and that guy is still a top
I
5
granted-
fantasy wide receiver. It's
Yeah.
insane.
He did get a lot of that
With the
during Deshaun, because
Yeah, but
Deshaun was leading when he
Deshaun was
when he went down.
insane. The
It'll be
stats
cool to
he
see
was
when
putting
he
up.
comes
Gets
back how he
drafted.
plays.
Yeah.
and how he gets drafted. But yeah, like, will he be affected? It'll be his second year, coming off an injury. He tore it up the
Well,
first
because
year, though.
that's RG3 did really well his first year,
Sure.
and I would argue that a very similar play style. Deshaun is definitely a better player overall still.
Yeah, but it remains to be
he-
seen.
RG3 never really came back after getting hurt.
No,
He didn't tear his ACL though.
RG3.
Yeah,
he did.
I don't, did he?
He did. Yeah.
The very first time he got hurt.
Yeah, because he got the Redskins to the playoffs and they lost. But I remember they were arguing about keeping him in because towards the end he planted wrong on the field, and he did end up tearing his ACL.
I didn't remember that it was the very first. I knew he had done it.
I think it was
in
the
a later
playoff.
one.
It was the
I
last
thought.
playoff. game.
Okay.
But then he did that again. I think later on, and then he had a
He's
a
not
shoulder
even,
thing. With
he
the
wasn't
Browns.
even on a team this year.
No, he was a free agent, but he's not going to be. But it's interesting to see how these quarterbacks are going to come back. You wouldn't have done that. But Wentz coming off an ACL,
Man,
you're gonna have Watson coming
and
off an
that's
ACL.
since you mentioned Wentz, not to get too far from fantasy, but
Yeah, because we will transition in a second.
one of my arguments that he very much disagrees with, and I am interested to see your opinion, is I think even with Wentz healthy, they weren't going to win the Super Bowl. and
No,
you
I think they
dislike every
Okay,
time I say
I
that.
will bring that up after we finish the
So,
fantasy because that'll
I'm
go
just
right
putting that
into
out there.
play with
Um,
where I stand on all that.
Let's see, who else did I have that was doing well?
Look it up.
Yeah, I can't use
check
my
tape
phone
here.
right now.
I'm gonna check tape for you, sir.
So, and
I ended up picking up Kenyon Drake, and he did pretty well.
Towards the end,
As
he was
a good. I had Carlos Hyde as well in
so
there.
you did have some. Do you how do you think you did on the waiver wire this year? Did you think that was a pretty?
I did.
strong
I think I did.
way that
pretty
you
well.
helped.
RJ's
balance your
a
team.
master at the waiver wire.
I feel like every year I do well more because of the waiver wire. Like in this year, yes, I did benefit from happening to pick up two of the top, or like the top guys and a number 3.
Yeah,
But if you can't play the waiver wire, you can't
if you're not,
can't win without that.
you definitely need.
This
the
is
waiver
a
wire.
easier league to win without the waiver wire because there are fewer overall teams, so you can get more people per
And
team.
you had to be active on the waiver wire this year, especially with
Oh,
all
yeah.
the
All the
injuries all
injuries,
around
it
the
was-
league.
I feel like every week I had to pick up new people just because.
I
It just
had-
made sense. Yeah,
I had one team where
you try pulling it up too.
yeah, I got it right.
I managed to pick up. It didn't end up mattering, but I
not
managed to
showing.
get because we had an
Oh, yeah.
IR spot in that league. I picked up and had Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers in my IR spot because someone else dropped him.
So you had Wilson, Hyde, Drake, Jones, Allen, Gates, Jay Williams,
Oh yeah,
Seahawks.
I picked up and
defense,
played
Tucker.
Antonio Gates that last week because
and he went off
because Henry got
was
hurt, and I
out.
had Evan Ingram who I'd picked up off the waiver
You also
wire.
had Ajayi, Mixon, Gurley, Gordon, Juju Smith, Ingram,
Jarrett
McKinnon.
McKinnon.
I'd say you had a really solid balance line.
No, he
but
had-
can we just talk about how awesome Todd Gurley was?
Dude,
This season,
seriously.
last year.
Last
people
year
were
he
like,
was
"Oh, he was
very
a bust,"
down.
But that's I feel like that was because of quarterback play. Goff was new, and a lot of teams were stacking.
Oh, and they
the
were
box
using
against
Keenum
him.
for most of it, I think.
And look at what he's done this year with the Vikings.
been-
That's another team I know
That's a
you're going to
weird
want to
one.
touch
So
on.
no, and
But with Gurley,
Yeah.
I actually won the league I was in with Steve.
Mhm.
I had Gurley, and I rode the Saints pretty
Oh,
hard.
so you won it?
Yeah.
Nice. That was for money too, wasn't it?
So raise your
was.
hand if you were a winner this year.
Common denominator was we both had Todd Gurley,
Yeah, I know.
and I think
Well, again, it's so frustrating that because again, in another league that the two of us are in, our Lone Tree League, I think on paper my team still was the best team, but it was one of those. Unfortunately, the week that Antonio Brown got hurt, I also had Baldwin and Russell Wilson
Oh, they
only
were against the
combined
Rams.
for 8
That- yeah.
points or
Yeah,
something.
the Rams
And so I
destroyed
got
them.
eliminated because of that, despite going well. And the other guy had Kareem Hunt and Fournette both go off that
Yeah,
week
that's
after not
true,
doing
yeah.
much a lot of the later part of the season. And then in the end, like I said, I outscored both of those guys. Actually, me and the guy who ended up, I guess he like 3rd place, 4th place, whatever we ended up. The two of us both outscored the guys in the playoff and like the final game. It's like, of course.
and then to have like, to have those players go off at certain times, especially during the playoffs. With you being out with Antonio Brown, and then Gurley, he had a 45-point game,
Yeah.
and then a 50-point game,
yeah.
and he was solid throughout
Not
the year.
both against you, though.
No,
No,
but,
Just the 50
but,
against
but
you.
those are both in the playoffs. It's like how incredible.
No. Well, and so to talk about my team is like, so I kind of got Antonio Brown went out, and so like that hit me, and then like I picked up Garoppolo and Keenum, and I was looking, and both of them were putting up high points, and I put Keenum in, and he just had like the worst game of like the season, and then also my tight end was Rudolph, who was questionable and hurt. And then so that game anyway, the Vikings didn't do overly great. Like I think they won, but they didn't like put up a lot of points. And then I picked up Goodwin from San Francisco because ever since Garoppolo had gotten there, he hadn't gotten really below like 17 points. And he had like the lowest game of the season.
Because he got hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was like I got hit, and then I had Funchess, and he was questionable and hurt and didn't like play all game either. So it was like right when our final hit, like my top guys weren't, well, Antonio Brown was out. The guys were hurt and not really doing well, and then they like just didn't do that great.
The funny thing is, he had Deion Lewis get like 30 points 2
on
weeks in a
his
row.
bench.
But
Yeah. No, it was.
well, no, they were in his team
Oh, you
both
did?
times.
Okay.
The first time though, he was matched up against Todd Gurley,
Yeah, who just
and then
had
the
20
next
plus
time,
more than that.
his
So it was like
30
30
points
to 50
doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just
And then
so
it was like Lewis put up, and then I had Lynch, who had been putting up decent numbers, but it was like, meh. And same with Crabtree. I mean, Crabtree kind of.
he got suspended late too because
Yeah.
Talib grabbed his chain
Yeah.
again.
So it was
Maybe
like.
he should just not wear the chain.
Did
you
you
know what's
hear
gonna happen.
He had it taped down,
Really?
and he still grabbed it on the second one.
I didn't know that. That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah. And then they both got suspended.
Yeah.
because that was
So,
embarrassing.
and then like I had Goskowski, who was probably my most consistent point scorer. Like,
Kicker, man,
yeah, I know.
guaranteed 6 to 12 points.
Watch, look, let's.
I had
his
Harrison
average-
Butker, who actually no, I think in our league I
Was he with
had
the Chiefs?
I had Tucker. I had Butker on the other. Yeah, the Chiefs
okay.
kicker. He
Yeah.
did pretty well whenever they did well, but he had a little bit of a
Yeah.
slump.
I mean,
Yeah.
in one of my playoff games, he put up 14 points. But I mean, I also had the Eagles defense in, which I think put up
The Eagles
22
defense was good
points.
this year.
this is, I think, the first year where I've really had to work the waiver wire for the defense, because usually I
Yeah.
try to get a good defense and then stick with it. And I had the Seahawks, but they haven't been the Seahawks defense
and
this
then
year,
they
so
had
I
some
had to
injuries
give up
the
on
defense,
them.
too.
So you want to know what I did? I just picked up whoever was playing the Browns, if they were.
Well, that's one
available.
way. I like to carry two depending.
No, and I actually had
and then
Broncos
I'll
and Eagles.
start them based on matchup. That's what I was doing
Exactly.
a lot with my other league.
Yeah, and so I had Broncos and Eagles. So and then the rest of my team. So Brown was out. I had Tennessee's Murray, and he didn't do it. Des Bryant was like shit. Like
Des
whole-
Bryant was overrated
Cowboys
this year.
just
Yeah,
struggled.
they really.
I mean,
did.
I think Des Bryant's always overrated.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then I picked up Steele from Miami, and he was like a very hit or miss.
yeah.
character.
Well,
like,
he's just like their third receiver.
yeah, and it was like because he was put, and he was just a backup to have, and it was like every game I feel like he did really good. I had him on my bench.
He's a boomer bust play.
Exactly. And then I picked
But
up.
I feel like that's
Sanu.
usually when you have someone who's not the primary receiver. That's the
Yeah,
case.
oh for sure.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with Juju, but like
Exactly.
like you,
Juju just got to step into the number.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's playing based on matchup and substituting Brown out.
No, definitely. And so
you swinging for home runs.
I mean,
over here.
because if we like Brown is what kind of I think Brown took
what can
away
Brown do
that,
for you?
Yeah, exactly. That it took away that extra like 20, 30 points I probably could have had.
Yeah, but RJ beat you by 100.
But
so.
no, what I'm saying, no, because what I'm saying is in that case, Brown would have been around the same, hopefully, as Gurley, at least somewhere
You think
there.
he would have got
Dude,
50
No, but I think
points?
he would have gotten maybe 25, 30 points.
That's
Then Lewis.
nowhere.
No, but then
near
Lewis had 30
50.
points.
So
and
even,
then-
but
that's
even,
the
But I'm
players
saying,
for
I'm
one.
not
That's
saying
a
it would
2
have.
for 1
I'm
there.
not saying. I don't think there's any way I could.
so he's saying he would have lost by 50 points.
Yeah. I'm saying I would have been a lot closer, not winning. I mean, I don't think there's any way with any
I don't
team I had
think
could have
so.
physically beat
No.
him, but I could have been closer than
Well,
losing by 100.
Yeah, I
points.
see your lineup struggles, but
Yeah.
even with your optimum
part of
lineup,
fantasy.
your optimal lineup wouldn't have
No,
touched
and that's
this.
no, and I'm not disagreeing. There was no way I was beating him. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well-
with the points he put up.
And then on the flip side,
I had good week against him, and I got
Yeah.
blown out.
And
on the-
that's yeah.
on the flip side, this team and then the other team that I just unfortunately got eliminated from, I did well on those, but the flip side, I did really terrible on my other two leagues. I got second to last place on both. Actually, or I got last place on one and second to last
Which
on the
one
other.
did you get last in?
Not Grace, so
Ah.
I'm not on the toilet
So
seat.
Oh,
I
man.
was in dead last year on that one. So on that you get a toilet
Well,
seat and your name's
Actually,
on
I
it,
should
so-
say it was at the end of the regular season that I was last in the one, and then I managed to perform, so I ended up like fourth to last after.
Okay.
But
yeah.
like,
Kind of. So what?
'Cause
where'd you struggle with lineup
well, so
wise on
the
those?
struggle
harder.
with
Oh, because they're a bigger team.
with
leagues.
Grace is it's not PPR, which hurts.
Which I don't-
Does.
and
Yeah.
one of my first picks was Mike Evans, who just really was a bust.
And he kind of struggled
year.
this year. He was great
The
last
whole
year. but
team
this year-
struggled.
And
Yeah.
well, my first two
Winston
picks
fell.
were Jordan Howard and Mike Evans, and they both did not perform.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
you probably picked towards the end of the round.
I did. I was like the
I was
ninth
gonna
pick.
say with those picks.
See, and I feel like
That's a good combo for like where you were picking though. But both of those players just kind of.
I did better in
They
that.
did great this year.
I mean, I did good in our league, but I think I had a better team for the finals and the Grace League. Because I mean, I had Bell, so Bell did really good.
Mm.
So and then I had Mariota, Blunt, and then I had Rudolph again, which didn't hurt. But I had Cup in the Jaguars defense and Prater.
Guys,
I also had Mixon and Hill.
I think
so-
overall, the Jaguars' defense are probably the waiver wire winner of this year. Because I don't.
For sure.
I'm guessing that most people didn't draft them.
Okay, yeah, probably not.
Does it tell you when I picked them up?
I'll tell you what, though, in the league
I picked them up September 27th.
Yes, you didn't draft them.
Yeah, and I mean, they did really, really well. I mean,
yeah.
So it was a really good
The
pickup.
Saxonville Jaguars.
Saxonville.
Yeah, and they have a really great secondary, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure Jacksonville is one of those teams I think that kind of hit, like, no one thought they would be as good as they were this year.
They really have gotten by on their defense because
absolutely.
Bortles is still not a good player.
He is, yeah,
Let me go back.
interception king.
So, waiver wire goodness, the team that I won with, I picked up Kamara. And I got him, like, I'm trying to figure out what
team is?
He's
the
the
Saints.
Yeah, that's right,
running back.
yeah.
That's not Mark Ingram.
Ingram still had a good
They
year,
both had
too.
over 1,500 all-purpose yards.
Both of them were top 10.
Was that in
fantasy
PPR?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to see what week I got him in, because I remember I was like, I didn't draft him, but I had I had an idea that I might want to pick him up.
I think he might be good.
No, I read a little bit about him. And I was hearing how they were trying to use him in the Saints office as like a runner to spell Ingram, but then also just a PPR monster. And look at what he's ripped off.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be the
And that's
rookie
with him
rookie
being
of the year.
hurt for parts of his week. He still managed to do that well. So
Yeah, so. But anyway.
I think so. I guess we can kind of like finish up the fantasy part by saying, like I said, I think Jacksonville deserves the waiver wire like winner because I think there were probably some people who drafted Kamara. He's definitely up there. Depending
I got
on,
him in week 3.
I don't know what
Week 3,
percentage.
yeah. So you
it
got
is.
him a
So
little
you
bit
got
early.
him off the waiver wire.
You kind of got him before Saints
Right
were
before
even
he blew
making
up.
an image.
Yeah, because the Saints actually lost their first 2 games of the year, I think. And then they just went on a tear when their offense started clicking. Their defense is better this year.
So those two both up there for our waiver wire winners.
Yeah.
And then I
would say
think
so.
the busts, I would give it to Evans as like the big one.
Yeah.
Evans was a big
I would
one.
say even
Because last year he was, I think, the number 1
yeah.
receiver and number 2.
And
for
that's the thing.
fantasy,
Evans
one
is
of
still
those.
a great receiver.
David Johnson was a bust.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's a busted player, but he got injured and
Yeah.
he was a
screwed
top 3 pick.
He screwed a lot.
He
of
did
people.
screw a lot of people over, but it's hard to call that a bust because injuries happen.
No,
whereas
but
Mike Evans
his
played the
happened
entire
so
year.
early on
Exactly.
though, as a top 3 pick.
It happened game 1.
It did.
Yeah, it
happened
did.
Game
Yeah.
1.
So, and yeah.
Well, a lot of
there was a
people, it was either
lot of
him or
injuries
Bell.
this year because
There
Aaron
were
Rodgers
so
got
many.
hurt.
Yeah.
David Johnson got hurt.
Bunch of receivers.
Edelman got hurt right before the season.
Yeah.
Well, so that was the big thing in our church league is
Hunter
I had
Henry.
the first round pick, and it was between the 2 running backs, and I picked Bell, and
Yeah.
everyone
You were
gave
all
me
about Bell.
yeah, and everyone gave me shit like, oh no,
I like
no,
Bell. I was more Johnson on that side though.
see,
and that would
and everyone gave me crap, and I was like, no, I'm going with Bell.
That's one of those
it's
things where
play-
I obviously knowing that he would get hurt, I would choose Bell. But if I was in your situation, I would have chosen Johnson just based off the last year. You
Yeah.
can't predict a guy.
Yeah,
you
No,
know.
I just like Bell more. I just
No, and
I feel like
that was
Bell
a preference for you.
did a lot.
I get it too though,
It
because
was
I
one
had
of
Bell
those
in the league,
lucky
but
kind
if
of
I
things
could have
that
gotten
paid off.
Johnson,
Yeah.
because
probably
Bell
would've
is
started with
definitely a good player.
Yeah.
Johnson was the
Yeah,
was
no,
the-
and I get
yeah.
it. And it was just, like I said, it was one of those kind of, I guess what you could call a stupid decision at the time, but one of those whim decisions that paid off in the end.
Yeah.
That you
And then
can
look
never,
at the
you can
people
never
that
guess.
got Gurley. He was like the
yeah.
4th or 5th or 6th running back.
Like I said, I had him. I picked
because
him
of last year.
in number 12 overall,
I think I got him in the 2nd round as well on my league.
Really? Oh, well.
and it was kind of one
Actually,
of those
no,
where
it might have been my
if
first.
I remember correctly, and we can look back because thankfully we have our draft filmed. I
do,
want to
we do.
say that I picked him up more kind of saying like I don't necessarily know that he's gonna do well,
Oh,
but
dude,
I
look at
feel
that.
like I can't.
I remember
pass
us
him.
talking about that.
I drafted Gurley in the 3rd round,
Wow.
actually.
Yeah.
Allen Robinson was another guy who got hurt. And didn't
Yeah,
do
yeah.
anything.
Fitz did good for me.
Ajayi, that's a first round pick who definitely did not pay off
I
as a
had
first round.
7. I had picked 7 in the league.
Well, you also had Olsen, too. Like, I picked Olsen for my tight end in a lot of leagues.
And he was injured.
I
early
managed
on for a
again
bit.
talking about waiver
First game?
wires. I picked him up in that other league, and so I had him in the playoffs. But
Did he play in the playoffs?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'll be
he got like
honest.
23 points
Really?
the week I got
I didn't
eliminated.
know that. I didn't know he did that.
6.
I don't
Okay, so
know how much he
6,
did these last
literally,
2 weeks,
this is
but-
you have to work the waiver wire. You have to be good. Literally, only 6 of my draft picks out of 15 I kept throughout the entire season.
Really?
Can you bring up my current rare team for this league? I want to see
Yeah.
how much.
I don't even know
kept.
how much of my original team.
Because I had one year where I had like 55 transactions and all of them were waiver wire because I never make trades.
I
don't
try to make
understand
trades, but every now and then.
trades are so hard.
So
for me.
1, 2, 3, 4,
I don't know if that's your draft. That's just your roster.
6, 7, 8.
Oh, you had a
9.
Jai too.
I had 9 people left from my original draft. Because then Kenyon Drake was picked up, Gates was picked up,
Ooh,
Jamal
Julio,
Williams
that
was
was
picked
another
up.
one. Oh, you said we already talked
McKinnon was picked up. Evan Ingram was picked up. He's
about it. Evan Ingram was one of the top tight ends.
I picked up Josh
Yeah.
Gordon. I picked up Juju.
Where do you go to find out your original people?
I just know who I picked
Oh,
originally.
I didn't.
There's somewhere where
There's
you can
another
go find
tab,
the draft,
you know,
but
yeah.
I don't know where it is on the ESPN app.
I don't either, but
I mean, if you want to do it the hard way, you could literally look at
Yeah,
every
yeah.
single character. I call them
I know.
characters.
I think.
Every single player and look at the bottom, and if
character.
it says you drafted them or picked
Yeah,
them up.
I know.
you
I didn't.
Yeah.
Those guys. 1, 2.
so in transitioning, if we're ready to do, the AFC, I feel like this year wasn't as consistent. You know, going into the season, the AFC West, you know, the divisions with the Broncos, Chiefs, Chargers, and Oakland, the Raiders. It was arguably that everybody was saying
There was a while.
they're going to be the toughest division.
There was a while where I was saying, this is later in the year, I was saying, like, I feel like the 4 teams that people need to worry about are the Vikings, the Eagles, the Rams, and the Saints. And I went, oh, those are the 3 leaders or the 4 leaders on their side. I guess the Patriots.
Right? It's like, yeah, that's it.
Patriots
like,
and Steelers are really the only 2 good
yeah,
teams on the other side.
The others are all like inconsistent, but for me on the NFC, I was very bullish on the Rams and the Saints, and that kind of plays with my fantasy team too. I had Gurley, the team I won with. I had stacked Breeze and Michael Thomas, and I also had Kamara. And then so a lot of Saints, a lot of Rams. I also had the Rams defense and their kicker, Greg Zuerlein, before he went on IR. And I was pairing
He
him,
was doing
and they were
really
both
well,
going
too.
off. They were going off consistently.
I think he was the number 1 kicker before
yeah.
he got hurt.
Right. So
And we should do some clarification with Russell Wilson. He was number 1 even when Carson Wentz got hurt. But at the way that he played those last 3, I bet Wentz would have passed him.
if he had played,
But up until that point, when Wentz was hurt, he was still Russell was still number 1 at the point.
Yeah.
And just no one passed him after that.
True.
Yeah.
But Wentz was number 2. So
yeah, and I know Dylan and I disagreed on this. You know, I was kind of on the Rams and Saints side, and you were on the Vikings and Eagles side.
well, and I'm currently
And you
still
called
on the
them
Rams.
both.
I think that the Rams. I'm really high on them winning the Super Bowl right now.
I'm high on
think that
them,
they've
but
been
I have
doing
the
really
Saints
well.
just ahead of them for me.
And so we can get back to
Yeah.
that what you just brought up. My statement that I didn't think that the Eagles were going to win even with Wentz. So let's discuss.
Well, I'll make my argument, and then you can do your rebuttal
all right,
or whatever.
Okay.
Let's go with the teams that are probably going to be part of the Super Bowl besides the Eagles, if there were to be. Saints, Rams, Vikings. Saints offense is clicking on all cylinders. They have 2 top running backs that can do whatever.
Yeah.
You have Breeze throwing. Their defense is solid. All 3 of those teams have solid defenses, as well as the Eagles. The Rams defense with Aaron Donald is just insane.
Yeah.
You have Todd Gurley. You have a rookie head coach and a very young quarterback, but there was like
And a lot of young receivers.
yeah. And their offense has put up over 30 points like several times lately.
Well, their average, and it might have dropped,
it was one of
there
the
was a certain
elite, right?
point where they were leading the
Yeah.
league, and it was 34 points a game or something like
Didn't
that.
Philly
Yeah,
also
so
have a
it was the
really,
Rams-
'cause they were
Rams and
averaging
Phillies,
almost
I
30
think.
points a game. I think.
I think it
too.
was between those 2 teams.
Yeah.
They just weren't number 1. They were like number 2, but they had the better record.
Yeah.
so that's why it was like-
Yeah, so you have those, and then you also have the Vikings with Keenum, who's gone off. Thielen and Diggs, man, fantasy wise, they were golden.
And even Rudolph as a tight end, he was a high ranked tight end.
And they can run the ball.
Yeah,
and their defense is pretty sound too.
Their run game has been interesting though, just because
they split a bit.
They've been splitting, and it made it really difficult because I had McKinnon, and sometimes he would go off, and sometimes he wouldn't, just because you never knew.
Yeah.
It was so much based off. Murray was we're gonna run it straight down their throats, and McKinnon was we're gonna do a lot of passing, and we need a running back.
Yeah,
still.
and to think that they had Dalvin Cook who was going off early in the year, and that was another
big injury.
But they still were able to have a good, decent run game. Mm-hmm. My biggest critique for the Eagles, and this is you can look this up.
To me, they haven't figured out their
prior to Wentz going down against the Rams.
Yeah.
Prior to that game, which they did beat the Rams. Mm-hmm. Wentz went out though. Prior to that game, they had only beaten one team that had a plus 500 record.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, who have you faced?
That was the Panthers.
Yeah, who have you faced?
And I always feel like it's one of those that are really hard because it's
hard to judge, but it's also
and I feel like Seattle beat Philly, and then
and
the Rams,
by the Rams.
And then
twice. Well, no, they lost once to the Rams, but the
you
Rams,
never know.
The Rams always pushed Philly.
And that's what I'm saying. Like the Rams
Seattle.
beat the Eagles, but then
the Dolphins beat the Patriots.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's always so weird because if you look at it, it's Philly may have lost to Seattle, but then the Rams beat Seattle, but then Philly beat
but that
the Rams.
always play Seattle tough. They're in the division. They, they seem to have Wilson's number to a degree. Because even last year when they were not great at all, they were still pushing them to close games.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's obviously we will never really know.
Not until next year. But then what do you have?
I don't know. I felt like there was a lot of people who were really high on Carson Wentz saying that they felt he was the MVP
candidate,
front runner, and I guess I just disagree. I don't know. He was playing well,
Ertz went
but I
off
don't
this
know
year
that he
with
was the number one guy. I don't know that they were really the number one team.
Yeah. I always had more questions about their run game. Too.
I thought that when they picked up Ajayi, it was they've got this good, but they just couldn't seem to.
He still had
a 3-man backfield.
Yeah, I feel like Ajayi still made a big difference.
I don't know though.
I don't think he did.
I think it made
honestly
fantasy wise, he certainly did.
No, and to be honest, I drafted him first on that team that I won with, and he was better for the Dolphins. But even then, he wasn't doing a whole lot. And then when he got traded to Philly, he was irrelevant. I had to drop him.
See, and I think it's so hard because when I watched, just watching a Philadelphia game, not comparing it to my fantasy, Ajayi did a lot. He did a lot of he would get first downs.
But they had Blount too, and they had another guy, Smallwood.
So they had, and they have Blount,
and then they have some other, I think, rookie or something.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So it's LeGarrette Blount for me didn't really do much. He was supposed to be the big guy, and so that's what I'm saying. On a run game, if you look fantasy wise, it's like they didn't have a run.
I get
but
what
when
you're
you
saying.
watch the actual games, because I watched a lot of the Philly games, their run game was used specifically to just move slowly and not get huge yardage kind of thing. So it wasn't like Gurley or Bell who's running every play and they're getting all
Well,
these
yeah,
yards.
no, you had a committee by the back.
And it was just, Wentz was just throwing the shit out of the ball. So it was almost like they weren't really using a run game because they didn't need it almost.
Well, I will say I am a fan of Wentz, so I think it's a bummer that he went down.
Yeah.
But I was actually pretty impressed with the Eagles' defense.
No, and that's another, their defense is...
when it's so much
strong.
easier for a young quarterback like Wentz to play well when you have a lead.
Yeah.
Well, we saw that with Dak last year, whereas this year he didn't perform very well.
Yeah, and then you're not in that position where you could come behind and win the game if you're down 2 scores. You know what I mean? And
exactly.
Wentz was never in that position. And that goes kind of with who have you faced? You're dominating teams. You're blowing. They blew out the Broncos 40-10 or 5, but it was So I just don't know. It's unfortunate that we're not going to see him in the playoffs, but I still do give the Eagles a chance. But
against the Patriots or the Steelers,
but the Patriots don't have that great of a defense.
And yet they still win all the time.
No, but that's just showing. But I'm saying if you would have put the Eagles against that defense, I think it would have been a lot different than Seattle,
Honestly,
who has a really strong defense.
I don't know if you're going to get out the NFC. You got.
Yeah, it's
Look
true.
at the defense of your yard.
No, it's true. But I'm just saying, if say they made it to Patriots or even,
but then it's just going to be a shootout.
Pittsburgh and that's what I'm saying. Well, not because the Eagles had a strong defense.
True,
so, I mean, just like the Saints, if they make it, their defense is strong. So if
Yeah.
they go, like, their defense is going to put up a hell of a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it hurts. I mean, especially, like, if you're going against Brady, Brady doesn't like to get sacked. If you sack him
you get him
once,
nervous.
it, like, exactly. So, and same with,
But I mean, look what he did last year in the Super Bowl. Like,
No.
it's hard to hate on Brady all the time.
No,
just
it
because-
is true.
There's some stuff
Well,
that just
we're
came
gonna
out.
get into that too.
I
But
didn't
like
hear about
he's
that.
down 28-3, and you can't close the deal. and that just happened. So it's hard to
No,
say
no.
that like even if your defense is dominant.
But, I
against
guess
Brady.
the way I'm looking at if they beat
and the
all
Madden
the...
curse didn't affect him.
Yeah.
I know.
And I guess what I'm
It
saying...
hurt everybody else around.
I know.
If they made it through all these hard teams and it was between Pittsburgh or the Patriots, I feel like neither of them have the strongest of defenses, and so I feel like offensively.
But then I would argue then that both of those teams are better offensively than the Eagles, even
Yeah.
with wins.
yeah,
And we've
Yep.
seen it go both ways.
Yeah.
We've seen the better defense shut down the better offense.
well, Broncos,
But
won
we've also
a Super Bowl
seen
strictly on defense.
we've seen the better offense
lost the
just
Super Bowl
get to the
on
point where it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
interesting.
You never
to play
know.
out. Yeah, that's what's exciting. But yeah, I mean, if we're just guessing, I think it's Patriots, Steelers, AFC, and then those 4 teams we mentioned on the NFC.
Yeah, and I think like
It
now,
seems to me that the Patriots will win that show. I think it's the Patriots from
I mean,
that side. I just don't.
we say that,
Plus,
but
they
even
have home field
that
advantage,
game
right?
with when they played the Steelers, I mean, really that catch. I mean,
What is a catch?
Yeah,
It should have.
Steelers would have won that
It
game.
should have been a catch, but
And if it
at the
was,
same time,
they would have won that
since
game.
that game, the Patriots have changed up their team. They've now got Harrison on their team.
And Grunk's really been lighting it up, man.
Light people up too.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, they have a healthy Gronk.
We'll see how Antonio plays too, coming back.
That's true. He's
he is
back.
coming back.
They
Yeah,
expect
him
him
to.
to.
He's
I mean-
running, but I mean, he had a partial calf tear. So how?
But if you
efficient
think
are
about
gonna
it,
be?
I mean, with Brown, it's a
It
whole new
hurt-
game.
A half.
yeah, but how? What percentage is he?
Yeah,
A
exactly.
Brown at 50% is better than a lot of 100%.
Very
receivers.
true. Very
The
true.
question is 50% Brown good enough to lift them in a crucial game like that?
I don't know.
See, I
Especially
think-
because Bill Belichick specializes on defense. It's taking away the offense's best player. So you
But
have
that's the
Bell
thing.
and Brown.
But
Would
you also have throw Juju Smith or Bryant in there. I mean, so
They
it's
do have a stacked receiving
exactly.
core.
So it's if you take
And-
in, they've
yeah.
shown this. If you take Brown out, they just start throwing you these other guys
No,
that
I know, I get that, but
are better than your average.
I know.
But we also saw a game at the beginning of the year where Roethlisberger threw, like 7 picks or some ridiculous
I mean,
number.
he does.
Yeah, that
have
was a division game
season.
too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, Roethlisberger does have that.
I mean, that's the thing. You can even argue that right now. I mean, in that Patriot game, yeah, that wasn't a catch. Fine. You still had 2 opportunities to get in the
No,
end
and
zone
he
and
messed that
threw
up.
a pick.
He messed
You
that
know?
up.
So-
Absolutely.
And that might have been the deal maker right there, because if
Yeah.
they had won that game, they would have had the first seed. And now instead they have to go through Foxborough.
I mean, and you also have, and I'm just going to say this. Bell has a way of just doing stuff that doesn't make sense to me.
He is
Like,
elusive.
and I
Elusive
think
and
he's
explosive.
not to be just underthrown.
Exclusive.
Yeah. Because, here's what I think. When you look at Antonio Brown and Roethlisberger, that's 2 players. And Bell does what those 2 players do by himself almost.
Well, he doesn't throw the ball.
No, he doesn't throw the ball. But what I'm saying is he's just as good. Like, because they have games where they just give it to Bell, it seems like, every play. And he just, somehow doesn't get tired, is, getting slammed down hard.
a very
He's blowing through
patient runner.
people. Exactly. And
He
so
waits for the hole to open.
Yeah, not many backs do that.
And
They
it
get
almost-
panicked and cut
yeah.
right away, or they take a loss.
And if you've noticed in games when Roethlisberger starts having an off game, they just go, "Okay, Bell, do your thing."
Well,
so it's
that's
even if
something
Roethlisberger's having a bad game,
It'd be
you have-
interesting because again, after that 7-pick game, Roethlisberger said maybe I just don't have it anymore. And
Yeah, it
granted,
sounded like he
they did
doubted
end up
himself.
playing well after that. But it's I do think we're nearing the end of Roethlisberger's career.
Oh,
absolutely.
We are
He kind of
ending.
had a
We're
foot out
certainly
the
ending
door
the
already.
near. Despite the fact that Brady still has been playing well at 41, We're nearing the end of his career. We're nearing. They say Andrew Luck may never play again.
Yeah.
It's a new era almost. I mean, really, Rodgers is going to be one of the.
Well, Rodgers
quarterbacks.
and Breeze have talked about playing a little longer too.
We probably are nearing
Right.
the end of Breeze.
I mean, Breeze has been old for a really long time.
Well, the whole reason he's at the Saints is because they thought he was. The Chargers thought he was old in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So-
it was gonna either be the Saints or the Dolphins, and the Dolphins
Yeah.
were worried about his shoulder.
Yeah, and so I will say though, like going back to the Steelers, I think the Steelers were done, and then their player got hurt, and I think in all honesty, like that next game, it was like a new energy for them. As bad as it sounds, I really do think their player getting hurt, gave them almost something to fight for. That was like almost kind of because
you're still a top seed. You got to go out there.
Well, no, but even like Roethlisberger said, like the energy is different in the team. Like, and Roethlisberger came out and was like he looked like he cared again.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, and it's kind of bad, but it did almost take
you've got the rally cry of, like, let's win one for Antonio.
Yeah, and he's coming, and he might be coming back.
And Shazier.
Well, no, Shazier's
that's who you're talking about.
Yeah, Shazier. And so I still think that, like, that momentum is going.
He has feeling in his legs again.
Yeah, his dad did an interview or something saying that, and then he expects him to play again. But
I don't know if he will, but at least he'll be able to walk again.
I mean, that's what's really important. So
it's, I don't know, I think the Super Bowl is something to fight for, but I think when you got a little something extra, there's that unknown factor.
What's your teammate? It's going beyond.
There's also always that like argument that sometimes the teams who have to play in the wild card game almost have an advantage because you don't have that 2-week break.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You know, that was a big argument against Manning, was that you have the best regular season quarterback, but he had like 11 first round exits, and that was because, you know, he was so good with the Colts for so long that they would always have that bye, and it's almost that goes exactly what you just said, and
it just throws your whole momentum.
I mean, even the year that we had Manning and we lost to the Ravens, that was we had a week off. The Ravens won their wild card, and they came into Mile High and like closed us out late on a miracle. But
I'll say, like, as an athlete, I personally hate breaks. I really do. Like,
you lose rhythm.
If you're in that good rhythm, and then like you get comfortable. Like, I don't know, just something about it. Like, because even if you notice the Patriots during the last game, they still had all their top players in, and they've kind of said like, we don't do that. Like, we're already in.
Like, you're resting players.
Yeah, we're resting players.
I can understand. Like, because the Rams are one of the teams that did not play their starters. They rested most of them,
and they had everything wrapped up already.
And it's like, I understand it, but at the same time, you are throwing momentum.
It's a risk that if you put them out, you might get them hurt,
and then they're gone for the playoffs.
Yeah,
but there is also that chance of, you know, Gurley. Yeah, he'll have been doing practice and stuff, but he won't have played in a game for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, then you lose the feeling of game speed.
Exactly, you lose that momentum, you lose that energy. And so to me, like, as an athlete, like, I get it, and I've like kind of had that happen before.
Yeah,
and
you got to get into a groove for sure.
I mean, yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it's gonna be interesting. Pretty much, what needs to happen is every quarterback needs to do a Mariota and throw to themselves and score a touchdown.
That just happened today.
Yes. So when you're watching this,
right before we started filming, because we're filming this on Saturday, the first slate of games starts today.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one.
I think, obviously, like I said, I'm pulling Rams overall, but I feel like if we
Rams
look at
over AFC,
if we look at the 4 teams on that side, I think the Rams win overall. That's what I've been saying.
I don't think the AFC wins this year. I'm going to say NFC.
But I think that of the 4 leaders, kind of that I mentioned earlier, so again, I'm bad with NFC, right?
NFC.
Okay.
Rams, Saints, Vikings, Eagles.
I would say, despite having a good record, I would argue that the Vikings are the weakest of those 4 by far. And then especially without Wentz, then it goes the Eagles after that. Because we had that last game, Foles did awful. Yeah. They pulled him because he did so well.
Yeah,
they started their starters that last week and gave up because they were doing so terrible.
Foles did good the week before, though.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing is he did really well the first.
Who did they play the game they pulled him?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
So yeah, but they've already said that they're gonna, they're committed to Foles the rest of the way. So,
but they got shut out. They were playing Dallas. They got shut out 6-0.
That's right.
What a boring game. How did you do that to Dallas? You should be rolling over Dallas.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we'll see. I mean, the Eagles' chances kind of solely hinge on how he plays. I mean, their defense. I mean, you got to put up points though. Those teams against you, going the Rams and the Saints, even the Vikings can score a ton of points.
So you're Rams. I mean, so I was Vikings, Eagles with Wentz out. Obviously, I'm not Eagles anymore because I think he was a very key. I don't have faith in Foles, and I don't see Foles being like the one that takes him. I do respect. No, don't get me wrong by choosing the Vikings. I do respect the Rams and the Saints. I actually really like the teams. I think it's a hard choice. So I just like the Vikings, and I think I'm picking the Vikings.
I said that I thought they were the weakest, and he says
well, I mean, he initially disagreed because he was.
I like the Vikings, and I think it's for me. I do like the Rams. I see them doing stuff, but the Vikings to me they're not all necessarily a new team, and so I think they're a little bit more prepared for the pressure and other stuff to come. And and it's
we'll see.
I guess the hard part that I have with the Vikings is they don't really have a starting quarterback. Keenum isn't.
How dare you,
dude?
He's been doing well, but he's a backup.
I don't think he's a backup. I think
he's going to stay a backup.
So if you're the Vikings and you lose,
arguably Teddy Bridgewater could play, but I don't think he would.
I think Keenum's over. Yeah, I think Keenum's proven himself.
I would start Keenum over that other one that got injured too, Bradford.
I mean, I do like Bradford though.
You're higher on Bradford.
And then you don't have Dalvin Cook, so you've got backup running backs in too.
That I agree with.
Yeah. But like I said, I think
you have Thielen, Diggs, and Rudolph. Those are big targets, strong. And they come down.
And so I don't know. I think the Vikings are going to put up a hell of a fight.
They do. I just don't know if they can score enough to keep up with the.
And I think that's my biggest fear choosing them is scoring has been. But I mean,
they'll have home field against the Rams and the Saints.
So I mean,
Eagles and
I noticed,
Vikings
like I said,
1-2.
like they're a more seasoned team, but obviously the Saints are the most seasoned. I mean, Breeze is, he's Drew Brees, and I have our good friends, Press and Laurel, are Saints fans, and I mean, if the Saints go, I'm rooting for the Saints.
Oh, for sure.
Obviously, I like the Saints. I just something about the Vikings. I've always kind of liked the Vikings, kind of.
Yeah.
So it was like now that they're in there, I'm like, oh, okay. So, like I said, so part of mine is just bias for liking the team, and
that's okay. I'm biased too, but I mean, I'm gonna disagree with you.
No, absolutely. Like I said, and I think really, I think it's hard.
It's gonna be fun to see, though.
Exactly, and
I think these are gonna be. This is a great playoff slate of games we're gonna
have. And like I said, I think it's
hard.
On
the NFC side.
On the NFC side.
Yeah.
And you know what? We haven't even talked about the Falcons. Like they were in the Super Bowl last year.
Matt Ryan,
the Panthers,
they got lucky to get here.
The Panthers are tough too. I just don't know if the Panthers have as much as the other ones.
I think Cam Newton's overrated.
Yes, I actually really dislike him.
Really? Okay.
He's kind of to me. This is my opinion.
That's fine.
He seems like a douche.
Yeah. He cracks me up. He cracks me up, but I think he is kind of a douche. But I don't know.
Actually, I think a lot of players probably are.
I like the Panthers. I don't.
I like Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I like Olsen. I like Olsen too.
I think that they didn't figure out how to use McCaffrey until too late in the season.
Yeah, that's what it seems.
And not too late. They still have.
Well, yeah. But I mean, they could have used him a lot better.
Finally figured out how to use him.
Right. And I blame a lot of that on Cam.
And Funchess too. Funchess isn't terrible. And I don't feel like they use Funchess as much as they should.
Well, is he a number one? He's your number one, but is he?
No, and that's why I think getting rid of Benjamin was bad. Because I feel like Benjamin was a great number one, and Funchess was an amazing number two.
Well, then Benjamin ended up getting hurt.
Yeah.
Well,
he might not have got hurt if he was.
So, and that's what I'm saying. I think they kind of screwed some stuff up there because I think like you had a younger player that's number two, and you wanted him to be a number one. But just because you want something doesn't mean that's how it's...
Yeah, that you're going to get the same return on your value.
Exactly. Because, I mean, from my understanding from reading is they got rid of Benjamin because they wanted him to throw to Funchess more.
Mm. Well, they drafted Funchess.
Yeah, and because Cam and Benjamin were good friends. But I don't think being good friends is a bad thing, especially with a receiver-quarterback combo.
For sure.
And so I think it was kind of a dumb thing to do. And it's just putting... I mean, he's a younger player. I mean, is this Funchess' first year?
No, this is like his third year.
Third year, okay. So he's still young.
He was a rookie the year the Broncos.
So I don't think he's a...
I think he's decent, but like...
He's decent, but I don't think he's not going to carry a team.
Cam's not a super accurate quarterback either.
No, exactly. Yeah, no. Absolutely. So, and I think... So, I like the Panthers. I don't think.
I guess we're just totally dissing the Panthers and Falcons. Like no shot. We're not even gonna mention it.
No, I don't think they have.
You can never anyone who made the postseason. You can never truly count them out. The year that the Packers won, they were the wild card team.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and I'll say with Wentz out,
it really just always comes to who gets hot at the right time.
Yeah, right? And I'll say with Wentz out, maybe Panthers take the spot of the Eagles, but I just don't think they're gonna beat any of the higher up teams.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's kind of, if I see the Panthers versus the Patriots or the Panthers versus the Steelers, I really don't see them doing overly great against them.
I don't see them getting past what they have to go
well,
through.
Yeah. So we kind of mentioned it, and since you brought back up the Patriots, we should probably at least touch on it real quick, because you apparently didn't see any of this. There's been some...
there was a report by ESPN.
There's been some problems, apparently, in the Patriots...
ball game?
Organization.
What happened now?
Well... an ESPN report came out like 2 days ago.
So it has to do partially with why Garoppolo was traded in the first place.
Yes.
So, okay, I saw a notice pop up and I never read that.
Well, so yeah, apparently
let's lay it out for
Belichick wanted to start Garoppolo instead of Brady.
Really?
Moving forward, right?
I think it was, I think it was
not
moving
necessarily
forward.
This year, but like long term. Like you'd rather have
yeah.
Brady retire and start Garoppolo.
Brady essentially, again, this is the report. I don't know the 100% validity of it. It appears to be true, but Brady went to Robert Kraft and basically said,
I want to play for another 5 years
or whatever.
Make Belichick play me and trade.
Yeah, Kraft came to Belichick and was like, no, we're sticking with Brady. And so, like, almost in protest in a way, they, like, got rid of, like, that's why Belichick, like, traded away the backups.
They traded Brissett to Indy for a receiver.
Well, yeah, both of their backups
Garoppolo
are currently starting and other teams. And Garoppolo hasn't lost a game yet.
Still hasn't lost a game.
No.
He went to a 1-9.
I'm a Garoppolo fan.
He went to a 1-10 team and turned them into a 5-10 team.
Yeah.
Not to say that that's great, but he didn't lose with a terrible team.
And personally, I think...
And now they got their franchise quarterback for a second-round pick.
Yeah.
What a steal.
No, I think... So, I'm so pro Garoppolo. Like, I love
I think he would have done really well with the Patriots.
I think he would have been... He would have been a Super Bowl contender,
But
bro.
that's...
I mean, I still think he's going to play well as he is.
No, absolutely.
And so then there's like this... Apparently, Belichick is supposedly considering leaving the Patriots organization.
Yeah.
There was rumors that he was eyeing the Giants head coach position.
Yes, yeah.
Damn.
Just because there's a lot of apparent drama between Brady, Belichick, and Kraft.
Brady's guy, some guy named Alex Guerrero, like his trainer
his
guy.
personal trainer that he apparently, again, was so against Garoppolo that
he had his own training facility.
He banned Garoppolo from like joining in and training with him.
So it sounds like Brady's just being a little whiny bitch.
It does.
He's a diva.
Yeah. But I get it, though. I mean...
Brady also has to realize he's old. Like, he can't do this forever, and the team has to look at that.
Well, do you guys think he's an MVP candidate this year? Do you think he should win?
No. I think he's a candidate. I don't think
he's obviously a candidate. So
win.
Who's the winner? Who would you have win the MVP this year? If not Brady. Because Brady, I think it's between two people, mainly. Brady and Gurley.
I think Gurley.
I want Gurley to get it. I would vote Gurley, but... Brady can very well get it.
I think Gurley's done a lot more than Brady has, personally. I mean, this year, what has Brady done overly special?
13-3 record.
Managed to win with a bunch of nobodies, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, look at Gurley.
They got Brandon Cooks,
I mean, looking at running, like a running game, Gurley has put up like...
I get... Yeah, of course. But I mean, are we spoiled because he had another 13-3 year, you know? But it is interesting, you know.
It is, but look at everyone in the people he played.
To go with your remark, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's hard to see the team moving on from him when he probably does have 2 or 3 more years left.
Well, now they have to have no backup.
Well, but the thing is... well, they got Hoyer. They've got...
Who's Brady's friend?
The problem was also that Garoppolo... His contract was out at the end of the year, so he would have become a free agent at the end of this year. And I don't know that he would have been willing to stay with the Patriots.
His agent already said they wasn't because they were trying in the. Did you read the whole thing?
I didn't actually read it. I just saw like a quick overview.
In the whole thing, like they had mentioned how they were trying to sign Garoppolo again, but also have Brady, and they were going to sign Garoppolo for like top backup money, which was like $17 million or something a year, but they turned it down. So
I mean, my thing is, Garoppolo clearly belongs in a head quarterback position running a team.
Yeah, he's a franchise quarterback.
Exactly. I mean, he's not a backup quarterback, and not only do I not blame him, but I'm happy because now we actually get to see him in action and doing stuff.
As opposed to waiting behind Brady.
And it's like I've been watching Garoppolo. He's a fun quarterback to watch. He does crazy things like. I mean, one of the ones he had, like, a dude was in front of him, and he just, like, leaned over and threw
he's
it to
very
the side.
accurate, and
like,
he moves well in the pocket.
He does crazy. He's a great quarterback.
So, who would you guys rather have? Brady or Garoppolo for the next 3 years?
For the next 3 years?
3 years.
I would have gone with Garoppolo, actually.
Yeah?
For sure.
It is hard to move on from someone who has done
for
so
sure.
much.
And so
but
much
I think,
historically.
especially after this. But yeah,
and that's why Belichick's
in terms of
so
looking
mad.
at the future, I can see, probably should have.
So they made a mistake. You guys think the Patriots made a mistake for sure?
I mean, look at any other team, what they do. You look at Favre. I mean, Favre was still great, but Aaron Rodgers was this new guy coming in. They're like, okay, we're getting rid of the old guy that's been here forever.
Aaron sat for like 3-4 years before he started.
Yeah. Well, but so has Garoppolo at this point.
Yeah.
2-3 years in.
Yeah. So it's at the point where
Brady, he's still playing at a very high level. They just won a Super Bowl.
You got to look at it this way. Brady has 2 to 3 years. Garoppolo, if they would have kept him, had 5 to 10 years.
I'm playing devil's advocate because I'd go Garoppolo too.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
But how do you bench a guy who just won a Super Bowl and still playing at MVP level?
And I don't think
you get rid of him.
To that point, I think this was still Brady's season, regardless.
Oh, for sure.
But I think it would then going on. You had to go with Garoppolo.
But then you either have to trade Brady or you have to convince him to retire.
And that's the problem.
And that was the issue. Brady wants to keep playing.
I don't know that
the Broncos picked him up. He had another couple years.
Well, because that was going to be my comparison. Was again going back to Drew Brees. They cut him they got rid of him for Phillip Rivers. Rivers isn't a great quarterback, but I'm Colin. I really dislike him. I love to see him lose because he's such a whiner.
He is a whiner.
He does have an arm though.
And statistically, he's great, but he's not done great in the playoffs.
No, I don't think he's.
But then after that point, Breeze, who they cut because he's the old guy, goes on and wins the Super Bowl and is now contending for another one.
Yeah.
Brady could have done the same thing, or for all we know, next year suddenly, boom, he just declines. We don't know.
True.
Here's my thing. I think Brady knows that the Patriots, the system, and everything that happens is what keeps him good. It's what makes him look good, and I think he's scared of leaving and going to another team because he knows he won't be like Rivers or Breeze and Manning, and he's not going to go to another Super Bowl. He's not going to have what he has there, so he doesn't want to leave and get out of that.
It's hard to say. I get why he doesn't want to leave though, but I also understand where Belichick's coming from. Like,
I think as a coach,
you want the franchise as a whole to stay elite as possible for the longest time, and in doing that, you keep Garoppolo long term. But that couldn't happen.
And that's what I'm saying. Now, here's my thing. I think Belichick acting out and getting rid of both of their backups just to say, well, fuck you.
We still got draft picks for him.
Yeah, but it wasn't exactly
the best. But now you have to draft another quarterback and groom him up.
I perfectly don't think it. I don't think it was the best of decisions. It was definitely
his hand was forced though.
There was a funny moment where before they signed Hoyer, Brady's backup was technically Julian Edelman, who was on the IR. Right. Yeah. So then it was like there was nobody else after that.
It's like I hope Brady doesn't get
hurt. He's still old, so imagine what happens if you don't have anybody that can throw the ball.
And here's what I see is, okay, by doing this and Kraft and Brady doing this, you got Brady maybe another year, 2 years, and then what do you have? I'm saying good Brady.
Yeah, maybe.
Good, decent Brady. I would even say Brady's already on his down.
Maybe.
So you may have another year to 2 years, if that, but then it's like you have nothing.
Well, that's another reason why they were saying that Belichick was wanting to move forward with Garoppolo. And
that's what I'm saying. It makes sense as a coach.
As good as Brady is, his footwork is not as fast.
No, he's very slow.
Older. I'm not saying he's super slow, but he's more fragile now because he's older. And the biggest knock against Brady all the time was that if you hit him a bit, he'll get happy feet, and then it all starts to fall apart from there.
The ball away. He does.
So if that happens moving forward, and that could happen even in this playoffs, if an AFC team knows how to freaking play, but
like I'm saying, it takes one hard smack hitting Brady, and he gets jittery, and then when you get near him, he just throws the ball down, he just drops the ground, he just does
you have to play safer, but you have to say
and so it's like if you can compromise Brady just a little bit, it starts getting in his head. I mean, granted, he could do what he did last year and somehow make it. I'm not saying he can't do that. I'm just saying.
Do you guys remember earlier on in the season? It was not too long ago when he was ranting off on the sideline and screaming at the offensive coordinator. And apparently, what happened during that interaction was the coordinator was yelling at him. We had our receiver open. It was Cooks, and Brady totally missed the throw, and Brady was just effing swearing up storm, saying "I got it," la da da, And he was also mad at Belichick because he was like never the Patriot of the week, even when he was playing good.
I did hear that. Yeah.
So
he wants to be like the Patriot of the week every week or something like that.
So and this is my biggest thing with Brady is he's just a diva. They've just given him whatever he wants, and he's lost sight of chain of command.
He went above Belichick. Allegedly.
That's what I'm saying, and it's bullshit. Kraft shouldn't let that happen.
Well, Kraft loves Brady.
Yeah, well, Kraft needs to pull his dick out of his ass.
Well, Brady brought him 5 Super Bowls. I don't know how you hate 2
You
more.
got 5 Super Bowls.
With the potential of a 6th one.
I know. So
it's like you have 5 Super Bowls.
Isn't it such a good problem to have?
Okay, so here, if I'm Brady, right?
Yeah.
You've got one on each hand or finger so far. Where do you put that 6th one if you get it?
You're caught.
Super Bowl cock ring. Just to stick it to people. You're like, you want to see my 6th ring?
Oh my gosh. I hope that doesn't happen.
Oh.
Hey,
I
Giselle.
already hate the Patriots. Hey, Giselle,
Come get my 6th ring for me.
Oh man.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm personally really tired of the Patriots.
Well, unless if you're a fan of those teams that are doing well all the time, then you're gonna be a hater.
Well, and like you said, even with this,
not hate the Patriots. I actually enjoy seeing them win a lot of times just because everybody else hates it.
So you're a troll.
So, and I will say, like, the Steelers, I'm not, like, the hugest Steeler fan, but I really would like, I think Brown and Bell deserve a Super Bowl, personally, the way they play. And I would like to see them.
Killer
New
bees.
England?
Yeah.
Can you beat New England?
And that's what I'm saying.
Brady.
But I feel like, being, top receiver and top running back so many years in a row, I do believe that they deserve it.
Oh yeah, they're yeah, absolutely.
I think they deserve the shot. Like, and I would enjoy
they'll
seeing.
have a chance. So
I would enjoy seeing the Killer Bees in the in the Super Bowl.
represent the AFC.
Yeah, and I think I would enjoy that more.
So do you guys want to do quick Super Bowl predictions?
Well, I've already made the Rams.
I know.
Rams against who?
Yeah.
Patriots.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Steelers and Saints.
I thought you were Vikings.
I want the
so
Vikings.
wishy-washy.
No, I like the Vikings. I really want them.
You want
to
the
be there,
Vikings, but you think the Saints.
I'm
are gonna
thinking
do it.
more realistically, it'll
Okay.
be the Saints, and I really and I don't want the Patriots, so I want Steelers. So Saints, Steelers.
I'd rather the Steelers, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna say Saints and Patriots, and I think that would be a good Super Bowl. Breeze against Brady.
It would be good.
But
The 2 aging ones.
you're right.
Yeah. I mean, even
And
if
Breeze is gonna be a free agent, but I mean, New Orleans can
He's
sign
gonna
him.
stay with
So
them.
yeah. So I really think it'll be the Steelers and the Saints.
we'll see.
Again, I would prefer Vikings being there, but I think Saints will pull ahead.
What would be the worst Super Bowl?
Fucking Patriots versus the Panthers.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad. Patriots Falcons too.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to see
that'd
that.
be
I don't want to
shit.
see that either.
I feel like, well,
The Eagles.
it's hard to hate. It's hard to hate on the Chiefs because they do have potential.
Yeah.
But in some ways, I almost feel like the worst Super Bowl would include them just because I don't expect a lot to happen if they make it.
It's true. It's true.
Granted, if they made it, then hey, things happened.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it's impossible.
But then they could lay an egg.
Oh,
in the
let's
Super
go
Bowl.
with the Titans. I don't think that they would be a very
I don't think they're gonna
dynamic
get past
one.
the Chiefs.
I don't think they're
but-
going to make it anyway. But
Yeah, that would be.
Titans score 19 unanswered points to defeat Chiefs. 22
What?
Marcus Mariota.
that was perfect
That
timing.
just happened. Are you serious?
22-21.
19 unanswered.
I still think that they would be a very boring team.
Unbelievable.
Actually, it
Wow.
would be
Chiefs,
interesting.
we just talked. I literally said, "What if the Chiefs lay
I
in?"
know that was so
the egg.
perfect.
Jacksonville could be an interesting one for
Ooh,
the playoffs.
Oh, you're
I
right.
don't-
You're absolutely right.
Just because I don't expect Bortles to play very well.
but that's the thing. It hinges
But
on
you never
Bortles.
know.
Fournette's a hell of a running back, and that defense is the
Bortles
number
is
one
one of
D.
those, I mean, Bortles could have a game where he just
He can go off.
Yeah,
Or
I
he
mean-
can completely choke.
throw like 10 interceptions.
Yeah.
And they tried
to
there was
manage him,
games
though.
where they won games and he had like under 100 yards thrown just because like
They were managing him with the running game and their defense.
the running game and the defense.
Dude,
managed
Fournette is
Yeah,
a hell
Fournette.
of a runner, though.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. That dude.
He's another rookie running back that's tearing it up
And
this
he's
year.
kind of one of those powerhouse runners. I don't think
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting.
I didn't think about the Jags, but I think I would say
Do we
this.
do we have another game tonight?
Yes, tonight's it's the Rams against the Falcons.
I will be watching that one then.
and it's at the Rams, obviously. So we'll have to check that one out. I have the Rams winning.
I think
and then tomorrow it's.
If this was last year, obviously you say the Falcons, but the Falcons have just.
They're so
They were
inconsistent.
lucky
like
to have made it to the playoffs this year.
I'm gonna say they're the NFC version.
Really,
of the
they
Chiefs.
made it because
Absolutely.
the Seahawks decided they didn't care enough. Apparently,
Yeah, they were on the fringe for.
So the Seahawks are they in playoffs?
No, they're out. They did not make it.
it was between them and the Falcons for that spot.
And then tomorrow we have we'll do our picks real quick here. We have the Bills against
The Bills are going to lose. I don't care who they're playing.
Bills against the Jags.
Did
the
you-
Jags. I'm gonna say
Did
the
you
Jags
hear what
are
happened with the
definitely
Bills?
That was funny.
Since the Bengals won their game and the
Oh,
Bills
yeah.
got in, they donated, all the Bills players donated to Andy
a
Dalton's
bunch of
charity.
fans. Yeah, because
They-
the Bengals beat the
They
Ravens
bought them
on
chicken wing. They bought them chicken wings, and there was a petition by Bills fans to add Andy Dalton and his number to their wall of fame.
That's hilarious.
I say they should do that only if they manage to win the Super Bowl. But since I think they're going to lose tomorrow, it
Well,
doesn't
this is
matter.
their first playoff appearance in 17 years. Or
Holy
something. That's
shit,
why they
really?
were having a lot of Bills fans and players were donating to Andy Dalton's
Yeah.
charity. They were donating in increments of $17, one for every year they hadn't been in. Or something
I
like that.
saw
Wow,
one
that's kinda
thing,
cool.
and this is kind of quickly derailing us and jumping back to fantasy. This is just something that you mentioned donating that I thought was really cool. Is a lot of people this year, winners. Spoiler alert, I did not do this and probably won't because I'm a terrible person. But a lot of people who won because of Todd Gurley or something.
yes, I did
They,
hear this
they were
too.
donating to the charity that he supported because as a thank you to, hey, thanks Todd Gurley for winning.
for being my fantasy MVP.
If I
winning
had
the
won money,
championship.
I feel like I'd be maybe doing it. But since mine were free
I should look
things,
into
it
that.
doesn't really matter.
I won $8 million, so thanks, Todd Gurley.
Don't donate $1 million to that
right
to
now.
me.
I would. So yeah, Bills
To the
Jags
human fund.
to the human fund.
So
RJ's
what
fund.
else do we got?
Bills Jags. I think we're all picking the Jags, and then Panthers Saints tomorrow
Wait,
night.
certainly the Jags win that because even though I don't.
And LaShawn McCoy is
I
very
think-
banged up.
I think you
May or
go
may
with
not play.
that one's going to be much more of a defensive battle, I think. And the thing is, the Jacksonville defense is definitely better than the Bills defense, and
in their offense. is
Tyrod
arguably-
Taylor's really just not that great. No. He's better than Perriman, but
Oh my gosh!
And
Remember that
McCoy,
one
like you
week
said,
they
is
tried
bad.
to
and if
bench him?
McCoy's hurt,
McCoy's banged up. He might not even play. We'll see.
well, so up until the Bengals won and got them in, they were going to be eliminated from the playoffs because of that Perriman week. Because of
The
how
one
bad he
week.
did, they lost, and then that ended up almost costing them
He
it
threw 5 picks in the first
in
half.
the first half.
I mean, Tyrod's not great. He doesn't do that. He doesn't put your team like that.
Hey, sorry, so then you said Saints and...
Saints and Panthers tomorrow night, and that's
Saints.
another divisional
Saints-
game.
I mean, that'll be, I
Saints
think, a
will win
tougher
both.
game,
It'll
but
be
Saints
a
will win.
competitive game. But I just
I don't
trust
think the
Panthers.
You never
Panthers-
know what version of the Panthers are going to show
That's
up.
true.
Though.
I think
Yeah,
even
Sometimes you
that-
have Jonathan Stewart running 3 touchdowns
Yeah.
and Cam running
Yeah.
one, throwing another, and sometimes you have them put up 5 points somehow.
And their defense is
I don't think their
hit or
defense.
miss.
I don't
They-
think their
they should
defense,
show up
even at their
sometimes.
best, is going to be able to stop the powerhouse of an offense the Saints are.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, because you have not only is your throwing game just unbelievably,
Breeze, but you
annoyingly good,
yeah.
but then
You've
you're
got
also
2
having
great running backs.
2
this
great
year.
running backs, which no one all season has really been able to figure out how to stop these.
No, if
guys.
you stop one,
Actually,
you got another
the way
one.
that they're using running backs this year is really reminding me of how the Falcons used Freeman,
and Coleman.
yeah,
Yeah, last
Back in
year.
the day, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good balanced attack. You have a main rusher, and then you have another one who can spell the other guy, but then also be a
But they can both do
catching
either
back.
way.
Yeah,
if
it's
you
like
need 'em to.
interchange. Yeah, so that's what
So
makes that
just
so
because
interesting.
a lot of times you have that one, it's like, oh, they put in Danny Woodhead. It's not going to be a running play probably.
Oh, right, yeah.
But here it's like, okay, so it's Kamara. It leans towards a pass play, but you never know.
And he's fast. He's a fast kid.
He's definitely going to be. Well, it'll be interesting to see whether they're able. I don't know.
Oh, like rookie of the year?
Well,
Rookie
what
offensive
games we
player
talk
of the year?
I was just gonna say, I don't know how Ingram's contract is this year, but it would be interesting to see if they decide to maybe try to trade him or see what they can get from him because they have the
Really?
younger guy
I
who's
don't
doing
know.
so
I think
well.
you keep both.
You never know.
I think
Yeah,
they're
that's
just an old team, and you just stick with what's working right now.
Certainly, in terms of a fantasy aspect, I bet Kamara is a number 1 pick next year. I don't know
That's
that
the
he
thing,
would.
though.
I don't
See,
know
because
that I
if-
would
if
pick
Ingram
him
is
first.
still there, do you pick-
though.
But I don't know
Kamara's
that
up
I
there.
would pick him first. But I'm
Right.
saying I bet he goes first in a lot.
First
of
round.
leagues.
Well, yeah, he'll be like Zeke
Yeah, not
last
number
year.
1 overall. He's not going to be
No.
that. But
He'll be like
number
how
1
Zeke
overall
was.
will probably be
That's
Le'Veon.
going to be such an interesting one next year.
Le'Veon or Gurley are going to be the number
Le'Veon,
1.
Gurley, Zeke, David Johnson will be back, and then Kamara.
Johnson will be
that's
like
just
the Gurley of this year. Like, he's
Maybe.
good, but you don't know what'll happen with the year off and the injury.
Well, that's the thing too. Is with the Cardinals with him, Fitz might retire, and then Carson Palmer already retired.
Yeah.
He just did. So
And we don't know what Peterson's going to do because he's currently hurt. But
Yeah,
he
and
did
he's
well
older,
when he
too.
first got traded to him.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know because if Johnson's healthy, I think Peterson takes a back seat there.
I think Peterson
Certainly.
And to think that Peterson was on the Saints at the beginning of the year, you had Kamara, Ingram,
And somehow he,
Peterson.
despite the potent run game that the Saints have, they couldn't figure out how to use Peterson.
No, because you already had 2 elite guys.
I think Peterson's such a different kind of runner too, especially now in his older age.
Well, you can't run the same way.
Yeah, so it's very much how do we get him in? And again, the Cardinals did it the one game, really.
Yeah, he had one huge game and then he did decent. But
But I
then he
mean,
got
look what
injured.
happened. He overworked himself in that one game, and then it just seems like the next.
Well, that was
game
also
he
when
did-
Carson was injured, so you know they had to lean all
Well,
running and
because
really
we got to
on the
figure out
passing
like
game.
who's gonna be their starter. Like, really, Stanton and Gabbert are both not worthy of being
Yeah.
starters.
And then I can't. I'm not sure where their draft pick is, but yeah.
Well, so speaking of draft picks, you have the 0-16 Browns, who did their 0-16 perfect
Yes.
season
Parade.
parade with like 100,000 people showing up.
Really?
That's the only thing they can.
It was
celebrate,
ridiculous.
though.
They had a bunch of people show
Didn't
up.
their coach wasn't he jumping in the cold lake too or
That's
something
what
like
you
that?
were saying, but I don't
I
know.
had heard that.
Um,
my dad was saying.
How does
But
that guy
they've
still have
got-
a job?
I want to say
He's one
I
win
think
in the
they
last
have-
2 seasons. He's like 1 in 30 something, and he's like, anyway.
the Browns have 2 first-round picks, and I think they've got 4 or
One and
5
4, one and
in the
4.
top 5. Or
They have the
sorry.
1 and 4 pick.
Browns
And, sorry, in the
always
first
get
2
good.
rounds, I think they've got 5 picks or
Which is
something ridiculous.
insane.
The thing is, they don't know how to
The-
use their picks
well, yeah,
wisely.
That's like
They don't know how to get a quarterback.
When that's the thing is, like, I think Kaiser did all right, but it's hard to just take a guy who does well. So even if they manage to pick up like Baker Mayfield, who I think is overrated personally, but
Well, the Broncos might get him.
but like depending on who gets him, you can't just assume that he's going to suddenly turn your team
Oh,
around. Like you
absolutely.
need a team around him, otherwise, I don't know. And that
And Josh Gordon's back,
arguably
though.
that you do have a team because Coleman, despite making the very terrible error that cost them that last game,
Yeah.
is
he did
a
on
decent
purpose.
receiver, and
Got Josh Gordon back.
Gordon is one of the best receivers
Yeah.
ever.
Could
He
be.
just always had so many off the field problems
Right.
that he hasn't been able to work into that. But if he could play a full season and with a good quarterback, who knows? They don't have a real good running game. Duke
I think-
Johnson's all right.
Yeah, then
but
they have Crowell, right, too?
I'm not sold on that guy.
Yeah. They need another solid runner and a quarterback, maybe.
And a
Or-
defense.
But their first pick last year was that defensive guy.
He did pretty well.
He did pretty good. So you have like building blocks, but they always just seem never to be able
I
to put it
don't
all
feel
together.
like they have the good managers and coordinators, and I think that's
Well, they swapped their GM.
and I feel
It's
like
they're
one
retaining
thing
their
that
head
like,
coach,
and this
so-
is kind of a certainly putting myself in the shoes
That-
of a
yeah.
potential draft person. Yeah, you don't want to go for the last place team, but it is kind of like a terrible mentality of like people literally saying, "I don't know if I want to declare for the draft because I don't want to get picked up by the Browns."
Browns.
It's like, well, they're stuck in this rut where it's like they're never going to get better because like nobody wants to play with them,
Well,
and it's like super negative about being stuck on the Browns.
But
or
I think it's
whatever.
also it's because so many good players have gone to the Browns and then their careers almost just died because of it.
Have good players gone to the Browns?
yeah.
I thought
What do we?
no, haven't they gotten like good picks like every year for a long time? And it's just like
Well, it depends on
nothing
what you
comes out of
say.
those
They
picks.
picked Manziel, and he was terrible. I don't think he would have
Yeah.
played well for anybody.
No.
That's true.
I would say they have a really good tackle, Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
Who's been like a really good guy, but I mean, that's just one guy. And he's been there forever. Like,
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, because this was the first season that he
got
actually
injured,
he got
too.
injured and
Because he had like
He hadn't
the
missed a
longest,
single
he had the longest
game
like
since his
most
start.
consecutive snaps in NFL
I
history or
really,
something.
I really want the Browns to use all these picks and just put together a kick-ass team and make it to the Super Bowl next year. I
Right.
think that would be like amazing.
But this
mean,
is
it
the
would
problem with the Browns. Like we've had the last couple years where they've had multiple like top picks, and they can't put them all together. They can't manage it.
It seems like maybe they've done something right this year because they managed to pick up and get rid of Osweiler.
They were still paying him.
Yeah, they're taking out a bunch of debt though.
But I think what they're doing is they're taking on the debt right now. They're basically buying draft picks is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to have to pay any of these draft picks very much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. And Osweiler's not, they're not going to have to
What do you think happens to Osweiler after this year?
He's a free agent. He's gone.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone cares about him.
No.
I think he's going to go the way of RG3 and Kaepernick and all that stuff.
Agree.
No one's going to pick him up.
I'd agree. It's either going to be Simeon or
Actually,
Lynch.
maybe the Patriots could take him.
And then
if anyone can turn a random person around, it's them.
They'll have
with their system.
There you go, having Brock back up Brady. That's a good plan for the future.
It's a pretty good spot for Brock.
Yeah, it's true.
But it is true for whatever the Patriots do, it does work.
Well, that's you know, I'm not a fan of them because they are good and they have been good. I respect Brady and Belichick, but I think that's one of the best things to say about that organization is that, you know, they're known for managing their talent well. They're known for, like, developing players that other teams have discarded. And yeah,
I think
even when Brady went down.
I want to say that last year's Super Bowl winning team, they said that they had 12 former Browns players that were currently starting for the Patriots or something like that.
Yeah. I know they traded for a couple of Browns players.
I think they just really know how to use players to their best ability.
And that's Belichick.
Yeah, and that's one thing
And so it would be interesting if he did leave, like, what does that mean for
Belichick?
Because that was the other thing is...
Belichick's way more valuable
One thing that we forgot to say is
absolutely.
that apparently Belichick was encouraging some of the coordinators, like the offensive, defensive, like those guys, to pursue head coaching jobs elsewhere and, like, leave the Patriots organization or something like that.
He's really mad at Kraft. Wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, it kind of does make you wonder what his next move's going to be. But, I mean, the guy's probably going to contend for a Super Bowl again. So,
and it would be interesting. Like, if he wins, I bet all that, like, blows by and it's like, okay, whatever. I wish we would have done this, but we still won.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah.
If they lose, he might actually leave. Who knows?
Yeah.
I think they could win and he could leave, too. Because winning could almost be like, here you fucking go. Now I'm gone. You know, like, here's another one. Peace.
As long as he has another job lined up. Yeah.
Dude, he's Belichick.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like...
But if there's not a current position
people
available...
would fire their head coaches to pick Belichick up if he was available.
Potentially. But...
I mean, look at the Bengals. They just signed their stupid-ass fucking terrible dude.
The Bengals guy, like, I don't know how he... I don't know how he still has... I don't... Like you said, I don't know how the Browns guy still is around. I don't know how...
and there was a lot of fires this year.
Well, it's like... And like I even said, you see, and it's like...
Have the Broncos fired their coach yet?
No, they did announce they're going to retain him, at least.
You know, but it's like, I saw the guy that was in charge of the Raiders lost his job, and it's like, I feel like there were people that did a lot worse that kept their jobs.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But it's always at the discretion of ownership.
Exactly.
You know? But the thing with the Raiders is they want John Gruden now, apparently. But then last year you have Derek Carr. He gets injured, but you have a 12-win Raider team that looked like they could have potentially competed with the Patriots.
Even during our draft, I remember saying that I thought they were going to do really well. And
if Carr stayed healthy.
Well, that and they didn't start using Lynch really to his potential till like the last
older too, though.
3-4 games.
He have, you know?
5 games. So.
But then they drop off, and you know this year they only won 6 games. I mean, the whole AFC West was a mess, except for and even the Chiefs. Like they started off.
They managed to get 8 and 6, but like. Well, there was a while where there was 3 of them tied at 6 and 6 for first place.
And the Broncos were still in it, and we were like 2 and like 7.
Yeah. In the beginning of the year, it was like, oh, this is going to be... I mean, I remember saying this is going to be the toughest division, and everyone like agreed that I talked to, and then it ended up being like the...
Worst.
Yeah.
One of the worst.
I mean, just no one, I feel, this year really saw things...
Yeah.
I know you can never predict it, but I think this year things were so unpredictable.
Well, that, you know, and then all the injuries, too.
Oh,
I mean, Green Bay's not in there. They could have very well been in there.
If Aaron Rodgers, it would have been completely different if Aaron Rodgers was in this whole year.
The last few years, we've had Aaron Rodgers and Wilson in the NFC, and this year we do not.
Yeah.
We have younger people like Keenum that could have been with Wentz and Goff, which I think that was the most surprising. I think the Rams probably had the biggest turnaround from last season to this
They
season.
Literally have said that it is the biggest turnaround in terms of like points for and total offense and stuff in it. Like I think ever since the merger or something like that.
No, and I
feel
feel
what
like
Goff's doing with them and that rookie head coach they have.
Yeah, one. I don't think anyone was talking about the Rams because like Gurley had such a bad year everything was so bad last year. No one thought about him. I think Philly is...
Name a single Rams receiver from last year.
Oh,
and they
and then I would even say the Eagles. It's not like people are talking like they didn't do terrible, but people aren't talking about
as
them
an actual contender.
Same with the Vikings. Like everyone was like Vikings are tough, but they're not.
You started going in with Bradford. No one knew that Keenum was even going to do what he's done.
In the Saints, more than anything, people have just been talking bad ever since they got rid of their
not that great last year.
Yeah. And it's like they got rid of their tight end.
Ever since they got rid of
the Graham, and everyone's been talking like you never would have thought
about mismanaging a player.
Yeah.
It seems
the
like
Seahawks didn't
finally the Seahawks figured
this
out
year they finally did, but I mean like
took them 3 seasons.
Yeah, which is
to realize you throw him the ball.
Oh, that's very true. And they had a ton of injuries too, the Seahawks.
And they still haven't figured out their run game.
No, they're which is surprising. Ever since Lynch is gone,
I think they went through 4 different people that they tried, and like that I think was one of the things that hurt Russell at the end is they kept being like, we need to establish a run game, and then they would keep turning it over because they wouldn't in terms of downs because they'd go do a 3 and out because they tried to run 2 times and then he'd miss like a throw and then
it's over.
15 minutes into the game we've done nothing yet. So.
Yeah, as good as he is, their offensive line and their run game really inhibited them.
I think like you hear stuff like that, but then you go back to Garoppolo, and it's like, who does Garoppolo have to throw to? And he still managed to like.
Marquise Goodwin's pretty good.
Is he?
Yeah, but
when he's not hurt.
Yeah.
Carlos Hyde, I feel like is another person.
Solid.
They use him, but I feel like he was underutilized because Breda did really well also, and they kept switching between the two. Mm-hmm. Which again, we've seen these 2-pronged attacks work, but I feel like they didn't quite do that right. Granted, they also didn't have a good quarterback.
I even think, like, look at Gore. Like, Gore started looking like, he's at the end of his career at San Francisco. But now in Indianapolis, he's just been, like, a powerhouse. They have no quarterback. Yeah.
So, I don't know that
I wouldn't call him
necessarily done great for them.
No, but I would say he's definitely doing a lot more than anyone thought.
He is, like, number 5 overall in rushing yards or something.
Yeah, really? He was that high?
Yeah.
He just broke it this year. I want to say he's the 5th person ever to break 40,000 or 50,000. I don't remember what. And he's obviously the only active player. The other people are like Terry Bradshaw or whatever. All those people.
So we'll see. I think this is going to be one of the playoffs I've been most excited for, because I think normally when it comes to the playoffs, you're like, there's 1 or 2, big teams, but this one...
And you just kind of assume, like...
Yeah, it's like this, and I think it's so much of a question mark.
Well, I think it's a surprise. I mean, it shows you, we just happened to mention, the Titans overcoming the Chiefs. I didn't see that coming.
No, not at all.
Especially with the way the Chiefs were dominating the game.
Well, like I said, I didn't even know the Titans were in the playoffs until I got here.
I didn't either.
Yeah, and I was like, shit, they made it in? Like, when did that happen?
I kind of ignore...
Well, that means the Patriots are definitely winning next week.
Yeah,
the Titans.
There's no way the Titans beat them.
Dude, if they do, could you imagine? Like, that would be the craziest
Kraft just fires Belichick.
Brady goes and kills himself.
I mean, with Marcus Mariota throwing passes to himself and scoring, like, how do you can't block that.
Well, nobody, it's not drawn up.
That's how they drew it up. Right. No, it's not.
Well, because he was saying, like, oh man, if only Mariota had done that while I had him in fantasy. It's like, okay, first off,
it's an 11-point play.
The likelihood of, and how often it even happens of a quarterback throwing a pass that gets batted and then catching it themselves is one thing, but then doing it by the goal line and managing to get in is a completely...
You're also missing the point where he got pushed. He wouldn't have got it, but he got pushed right where the ball bounced to. So he got pushed, and he just was like,
by the defense.
Okay, and then he just like ran and dove. It was like... that may be one of the plays of the year. That was
yeah, and it was like just a quinkity. That's how that worked out. So,
anyway, we'll see how
we'll see how our picks turn out next week after we're like, shoot, the Saints lost and the Rams lost. And, I'm just kidding.
Somehow it's a Tennessee Super Bowl win.
Oh, jeez.
It's Tennessee Panthers.
Oh, that'd be the worst.
Dude, that'd be terrible.
Yeah, let's pray for something better.
I legitimately would not watch that Super Bowl.
You wouldn't? I still will. Justin Timberlake's performing at halftime, so
that's true.
Do you think a boob gets pulled out this time?
No, but he's about to come out with an album 2 days before the Super Bowl.
So. Really? I did not hear that.
Yeah. He just released a single the other day. Me
Is
too.
It called Janet Jackson's boob?
No. Gosh. That was so 2000 and whatever.
I was too young to even
Another
know.
damn Brady Super Bowl. I don't know. That was at the Patriots Panthers Super Bowl.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy to even think that, Brady's got 5, and he really should have had at least one more, because the Giants got super lucky to beat him that one. Like, arguably,
Had
he should have beat him
catches,
both
yeah.
times, but
Oh my god.
certainly he should have won
Imagine
one of those.
imagine if he had 7.
And that's where
I
I
would
come
hate
with
football.
That's like
so much.
Is he already beating a record right now?
No, he already has
He
the
does?
most
Yeah.
Super Bowls.
So besides him, what's the next?
4.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Montana
Eli,
and like some other guy.
Eli Manning is another person whose
Never
future
triple.
is interesting.
Like, do you
because
is he a
there's
Hall of Famer?
no, but there's the question of
Oh, you mean
will
this
he
year?
stay with
Right.
the Giants going forward? If they clearly decided he wasn't the future of them, and that's why they benched him. Yes, that the head coach got fired, but
Right, yeah.
if maybe he could go the way of Favre or Peyton, maybe he follows Peyton, goes to the Broncos.
I've heard from sources that the Broncos are not interested in that.
But it would be interesting because he's
yeah,
one of
where
those.
would he
He
go?
definitely does. I think
He's still worthy of
he
starting job.
has 2 rings. I don't think that he necessarily
Deserves them.
deserved them. He won them fair and square.
It's like Flacco's one.
Yeah, but
Flacco has a Super Bowl?
he
Really?
remember it was
Beat
the
Kaepernick
it was
in
the
the 90s.
That's
Harbaugh.
right. That's right.
the
That's
Harbaugh.
Yeah.
That's when the Broncos should have won that year.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. Will he continue to play for them? Will they
Yeah.
find someone new?
I think who gets injured?
Oh, and this, especially with losing today, there's the talk of the Chiefs looking
going
into
to-
trading Alex Smith because Patrick Mahomes.
He's a young guy and appears to be the real deal.
I mean, I got to see him play a couple times when he was at Tech. So I think it's. I thought he did really well
They
there.
drafted him high
Do you
last
think
year.
Broncos would go
And
after Smith?
Harris was saying after the last game that they played
That's
that
right.
he called him. He seems like he's the real deal. So
Yeah, and that's Chris Harris, number 1 of the best corners in the league.
Really?
Yeah. Well, that's because Mahomes just beat the Broncos in Week 17. Because they benched Smith because they were resting him. But yeah, you're right. Now that they lost, they might already try to move on from him now. So then they trade. So yeah, but there's all these moving parts. You have Smith who could be moving, Manning. Adam Gase, the coach of the Dolphins, already said that Tannehill will be the starting quarterback. So Cutler's on the market
he
again.
just should.
I don't think he will go.
Nobody
anywhere.
needs him.
But yeah, if you're the
Then you have
Browns,
Cousins,
why
then
don't
you
you
have
think
Cousins.
about Manning or Smith even?
Could
But
you
then
imagine
Cousins,
Manning going to the Browns?
like saving the Browns?
I bet the Browns are going to draft someone with one of their picks. For
Well, they have 2
quarterback.
top 4 picks, like 1.
I don't
and
think
4. So they're
any-
definitely taking another quarterback.
I don't think
but
any seasoned quarterback will go to the Browns.
if you get paid a lot of money, man, money talks. Especially if you're somebody like Eli and, like,
sometimes
who
you
wants
might-
you nowadays.
There could be that thought of like, well, I could be the person who turns them around.
Oh yeah,
whatever,
for sure.
and
Like
be
I
the-
want to be that guy that's gonna save them and like make them relevant again. You know, I'll show the Giants. I'm gonna go resurrect the Browns. I mean, I don't know how
It won't
many
happen,
people
but
think-
sure.
right? Yeah, I don't know, but
Yeah, that's
I think
how
they,
that'll work.
I think Cousins. That's another good, interesting piece. You know, the Redskins, are they gonna be able to re-sign him? And then if not, you know, does he go to Denver?
Who knows?
Yeah,
Why do we have our eye specifically on Cousins? Do you
'Cause
I
he's the
personally
most
actually
seasoned
am not
biggest name that
a
could be
big-
available.
I'm not big on Cousins, and I never have been.
Yeah,
I just don't feel like he has what it takes to get it done in the end.
Yeah.
He's not a bad player.
I don't think
statistically, he's a top 7 quarterback
Really?
and yet,
in the last few years.
where are those playoff wins? Where
That's
are like?
That's true. He's only been in the playoffs once though.
He's also
and he got
had, like-
sacked a ton that game.
He's also had Jordan Reed to throw to as one of the best tight ends when he's healthy.
Yeah, when is that?
Never.
Yeah.
2 games a year.
And I would, I don't think you've necessarily seen the best out of Cousins yet. I get what you're
That's
saying. You're
true.
not as high on him. I think he'd be a great target for the Broncos.
I
But
think,
then
yeah.
I would argue that the Redskins have
He doesn't have a ton to throw
his organization the best.
to at
I mean,
the Redskins. I
yeah,
feel like.
if he has Sanders and Thomas to throw to,
And their run game was hard this year because
Last couple years, they haven't had like an elite.
they
back.
lost. I think they had 4 or 5 running backs on the IR this year
Yeah,
because they.
Kelly, Thompson,
And then I think like 2 unknown guys.
Yeah, they
but
had another rookie
because
that
they've got
they're
like
starting.
Samaje Perine is the
He's a
current
rookie, though.
starter,
Yeah.
and he did well some games, but
Yeah.
like again, he wasn't even like in the list of original people.
Yes, and even as a rookie, I mean, like he did well for a rookie, but look at other rookies that just excelled, like Kamara, Fournette, Dalvin Cook before going down. Kareem Hunt, who's probably he had the rushing title this year. So, yeah,
be interesting. Definitely.
It'd be interesting to see how the playoffs shape out and how the rest of this the offseason will all have all the moving parts.
Do you
see
think
where they end up?
Yeah. No, it'll be interesting. I always like. It's kind of weird to say, but I get excited right when like the season's really over and it's down to the two teams, because then that's sometimes where you see players like just leave or stuff start happening, and you can kind of see like, oh, like so that happened, and there are all these kind of like random things that you'd never guess, and players leaving. Because I mean, there's a lot of background stuff like
for sure,
players leaving that no one knows what's going on, and then it's kind of like I have noticed some teams just pick up players in that little time before like even the next season, preseason and stuff starts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
there's certain deadlines that apply to contracts, and like when your money in the contract becomes guaranteed, so teams will either cut you or they'll have to trade you or release you.
Exactly. So
I wonder. I'd have to look, but if it happened or not. But there was this could be one of like the last things because we really probably should wrap up. But there was that one game in. I don't remember whether they played in Indianapolis or in Buffalo, but it was the one with all the
snowball.
Where Vinatieri missed like 3 field goals or something. But they were saying that could have cost him $500,000 because part of his contract was if he hit 90% of his things, he'd get a $50,000 or $500,000 bonus. But because he missed those 3, he dropped from like 95 to like 88 or
just
something.
Below.
And it's a lot harder to build up.
Right.
Drop down,
I feel like you give grace because of the weather condition.
No, you don't.
Because that's
money.
Yeah, man. You really. Owners are gonna definitely like pinch every dollar on this.
That's true.
He's another person. I wonder how much longer he is. He's actually the oldest person in the league.
Yeah.
He's older than Brady.
How old is he?
I think like 44.
I thought he was like 42. I think he's only 1 year older.
How old is Janikowski?
He's not even.
He's not really in the league anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he retired like 2 years.
But he wasn't older.
No, Janikowski played last year. He played at the beginning of the year. He played. He was in lineup at the beginning.
Either
of the
way,
year.
he's not older than Vinatieri.
Yeah.
I just because he looks old.
Yeah, well, kickers typically are the older.
Yeah,
they can play older
because they get hit
all
even
you do.
less than
Yeah, right.
quarterbacks.
Yeah,
they're probably the least touched person on the
because it's a penalty if you get touched.
Right? I know. Yeah, no joke. Them and punters.
Yeah.
So,
which punters probably never get touched, do they?
Imagine that job though. I mean, you get paid what, like $1 million a year just to go kick a ball.
It's not too bad.
And yet, some people can't seem to do it. Ask the Buccaneers; they can't figure it out.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And
they went through like 4 kickers this year.
Yeah, and then the year previous, they drafted using like a second round pick.
Aguayo.
Yeah, a second round pick on it.
They cut him this year. Then they had Folk, who they cut. I might be off.
See, it's hard to say.
Cut
like,
someone else.
Yeah.
You think like a second round pick on a kicker is bad, but look at like Gostkowski for the New England. Like he puts up so many points a game.
Well, he's solid.
It's one of those things where the same argument can be made with fantasy football. It's like, yes, you know Gostkowski's going to do well.
That's exactly.
But
there's other people that
pick.
you could get that you could probably still get that same
value.
You know, you can get that same value in the 14th round. You know.
Well, see, and I mean, I picked up Gostkowski in all my leagues, and I got him late. Like,
but kickers typically aren't picked late, and that's why trying to measure in terms of what you're getting for your value.
Yeah.
That's why the main argument is that you don't pick a quarterback until like the mid rounds, like 4, 5, 6 round, because the variance between QB1 and QB like 8 is like just 2 points or something.
And because you never know, like there was 1 year, 3 years ago now, I guess 3 seasons ago, I won with Blake Bortles as my guy who I did not even draft. Last year I picked up I got 3rd place with Dak, who I got 15th round. Yeah. Because these are people that I'm picking up late, and they're doing well enough that they're around the rest of my good team.
Rest of your build.
They're still getting me to the end.
Yeah.
Whereas, obviously, Tom Brady is going to do well. Aaron Rodgers is going to do well when he's not hurt.
Right.
But, like, you never know.
Like you said, I mean, they're still quarterbacks are almost good for 15 to 20 points. I mean, on average. Mm-hmm. Like, even Brady, like, he averaged around 20 points. But it's like there are other quarterbacks that do that, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of times where you have your quarterback leaders and the top 5 guys, or 3 of them are people who were drafted in like the 10th round or later. You never know.
Yeah. Well, my thing is, it's so easy to pick up quarterbacks throughout the season in fantasy, but like running backs and receivers are so much harder. So if you get good, reliable ones in the beginning, like, because I mean, I ran into that problem this year, like trying to find when people got hurt, trying to find a running back or receiver is so hard. I could find a quarterback all day.
And that's the only reason I ended up doing well in the league that I had Brown is because that one, my 2 starting running backs were Ty Montgomery and Jonathan Stewart.
Oof,
and I cut Stewart before he did well near the end of the year. But yeah, I had to cut both of them, and I ended up getting Kenyon Drake and Jerick McKinnon, and both of those were because of injuries that I managed to get.
Still salvage your season.
Because Drake even really was, it was because of a trade that I picked him up, but then he wasn't even number 1 on theirs. It was Damian Williams who was kind of playing above him, but then he got hurt, and it was finally, hey, look, Drake is good.
It's like a trade and an injury, you know?
Yeah.
So, it was tricky.
But anyway, I think...
Yes.
That...
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, me too.
I need to go get food.
Word. That was a fun football podcast. Yeah. We'll be back.
We'll
For
see
those
who's
of you
right.
who actually listen to it.
Oh, right.
We'll see who's right in our picks, and we'll have to...
Saints.
Rams.
Vikings.
Except that you didn't choose them.
Yeah, you said Saints.
Well, I'm saying I want the Vikings, but it may be the Saints.
It may be the Saints. It may be Brady for a 6th time.
Ah, fuck Brady.
All right, hopefully not.
It could also be Roethlisberger. But I'm still going with Rams. So.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Peace.